Welcome to the newly rebranded Titans Rundown. I am your host, Micah McCamey, and today what we're going to be covering is the top 5 defensive breakout candidates. I did the top 5 offensive breakout candidates last week, but now I'm going to do the defensive side. So if you haven't seen the offensive side, go check that out real quick before you come back to this. But anyway, let's get right on into it. So the first one that I have is I'm not too sure if this is obvious, but to me it's an obvious breakout candidate. Arden Key. Arden Key was a very recently signed player. He was the last free agent that we signed, unless we get D Hop, which I don't think is going to happen. I'm losing faith in that, honestly. But anyway, um, you know, Arden Key was with the Niners for I believe he was with the Niners for the longest time. I may be wrong on that, but people will say that he's already had his breakout season with he had like a 4.5 sack season and like a 6 sack season in Jacksonville this last year. But the reason that I consider this a breakout candidate is because what I what I'm really interested in is the fact that he's not really had someone he hasn't had people like Josh Allen's good, don't get me wrong, defensive end Josh Allen, but Josh Allen was all right, but he's nothing compared to having Danico Autry, Jeffrey Simmons, Harold Landry all on the same defensive line. We'll talk about one of those guys later. But anyway, so yeah, he's had like four and a half, 5.5. I'm aiming for him for the stars. I think he could be a 10. I think he could be a double digit sack guy. I know that's wild to think about. I know that's wild for me to say, but he has already been doing all right with iffy pass rush and just not being able to get to the quarterback because he's probably getting a little bit more attention than most things. But I will say this though: whenever he was in San Francisco, he did have uh you know Nick Bosa on the other side, who is an elite defensive end. It may actually be better than his brother, but anyway, all I'm saying about Arden Key is that he has done okay things over the past few years, and he was one of the bigger parts of the defensive line for the Jags last year. And the Jags defense to me wasn't really even that good. But I'm really excited to see what he could do, mostly just because of the fact that he's not really been completely overshadowed by 3 pass rushing candidates. 3. I just find it very interesting what he could do this year because he's also got athletic upside too. So to me, I think that he's going to be really solid for us, and I think that he could do very good things for us. I think that he's a sleeper candidate for anyone who plays, defense. Well, to anyone who plays defensive fantasy football, where there's offensive and defensive players. All right, I want to say this first off. What are you doing? I'm sorry. Just what's going on there? But second off, pick up Arden Key because I think he could be a sleeper for one of those leagues. Anyway, moving on. Um, the next player that I got here is let's go. I got 4 players left. Let's go and talk about Monty Rice. Now, Monty Rice has been very solid whenever he's been on the field, but that's the problem. He's not usually on the field. He's injured. And David Long Jr. obviously showed that he was a very solid linebacker. I won't say very good because I'm still questioning. We let him go for what was it? We let him go for $6 million, which makes me think that we saw something in him that we just did not like. But anyway, uh, back to Monty Rice. So like he has been a very solid linebacker, and he has done some very solid things whenever he's been on the field. Like for like, I believe for like the first year or two of his career, he was getting completely overshadowed by guys like Rashawn Evans and David Long Jr. But anyway, um, you know, I think that there are some things to like about him. Like his coverage is pretty solid, but what really gets me excited is how he stops the run, because like he gets a good amount of tackles, and it's not like Devin White tackles. I know I'm taking shots at Devin White. Sue me, but he's overrated. I'm just saying that right now because most of his tackles come from blown coverage. Let's be real. But anyway, yeah, I'm really interested in Monty Rice, because like I feel like that he's got all the credentials to become a very good middle linebacker. Even though I feel like I see this one being a bit more of a boomer bust than Arden Key, because I think Arden Key is going to be good for us. It's just that I don't think I think that he's more guaranteed than Monty Rice is. But that's just me personally. You may think differently, because like I've watched I've watched people like break down the film of Monty Rice. They really like what they see out of him. Like they think that he could maybe even be better than David Long Jr., which I'm still not too sure about David Long Jr. Only just because of the fact that like we let him go for $6 million. $6 million, like and we completely had the cap space to re-sign him. It's just we decided not to, which makes me think, huh, maybe, maybe he has been kind of overrated over the past few years, and he's going to show that in Miami. Actually, now I think about it, Miami, he's going to look even better because he's playing with Jalen Ramsey, that solid defensive line, and his defensive coordinator is one of the best defensive minds in all of football, Vic Fangio. But yeah, still, I think Monty Rice, he may end up being better than David Long Jr. That's just my opinion, and I know that's a very high ceiling to live up to, but man, I'm very interested to see what he could do if he reaches his full potential. Because I think that Arden Key is going to be very solid for us, and I think that he's like kind of set in stone. But like, I'm not too sure about Monty Rice, man. I still think he's going to be good. But anyway, moving from one middle linebacker to another, we go on to Aziz Al Shair. Now I know what you're thinking, Micah. Why are you going over to middle linebackers in one thing? Well, from what I can tell, from what I can remember, I may be completely wrong on this, but usually most defenses have two middle linebackers whenever they're in zone coverage. But Aziz Al Shair used to play in San Francisco, and he was always decent whenever he got playing time. It's just the problem was that he didn't really he didn't really get that much playing time, because like he was. I mean, Fred Warner is their middle linebacker right now, and he may be the best middle, if I can remember correctly. It's it's I think it's Fred Warner is their middle linebacker. He's one of, if not the best middle linebackers in the NFL right now. So like, you know, I just really I just really think that he was just backed up by a bunch of talent, because we've seen his abilities on the field, and I'm really thinking that he could be very good for us, mostly just because of the fact that just because of the fact that he showed flashes whenever he was in San Francisco. Now, I'm gonna be honest with you, I haven't been able to find out like what he's yeah, man, why can I not think right now? But I haven't been able to find out like What was I gonna say? Uh, I can't remember. But anyway, yeah. Aziz Al Shair, good middle linebacker. But I remember what I was gonna say now. Okay, I'm gonna be honest with you. Um, I'm not I'm not too sure what his big strength is, and I don't know what his biggest weakness is either because I wasn't able to, look at the film like I was for Monty Rice because I looked at Monty Rice's film before I went to go before Aziz Al Shair signed in. So you know, that's on me. I'm sorry, but you know, again, good player, going to be very solid for us, and I think that he could end up doing wonders for us. I think oh man, it's gonna be a nice battle for middle linebacker one between him and Monty Rice. But both of them are probably going to get on the field a pretty good amount, and they're probably both going to be very good and they're probably both going to be pretty solid as long as they both reach their full potential. Which like I said, both of these guys are not guarantees. I'm just saying that they could break out. There are a few that I've mentioned in the last episode and this episode, like Arden Key, Chig, and Traylon, I think, are almost guaranteed breakout candidates because those guys are going to be, because Chig and Traylon are going to be central focuses of the Tennessee Titans offense, and uh, Arden Key is going to have a lot of really good players around him, and it's probably going to make him look a little better than what he actually is. Not saying that he's bad. It's just Anyway, but yeah. Oh, I just knocked over my Derrick Henry bobblehead. I'm sorry, King. But anyway, yeah. So that's how I feel about our that. So I don't even have to do a video on the middle linebackers now. I can just go away from that because I've already spewed out my thoughts on them in this episode. Anyway, but my fourth breakout candidate is a defensive back, and his name is Roger McCreary. Now, I think that he's almost definitely going to get playing time this year because goodness knows that Caleb Farley ain't going to be getting no playing time this year. If he does, I'm going to be very mad because I feel bad for the guy, honestly. He's very injury prone and he hasn't been that great, but we completely overdrafted him again. Bad move by John Robinson. There were so many red flags around him. We could have just had a better defensive back. I can't remember. Was that the? Oh yeah, that was that draft. We could have had someone like Asante Samuel Jr. Who has been playing really well the past few years. At least whenever yeah, he's just been a solid defensive back over the past few years. I still don't forgive that Chargers secondary for blowing that lead to Jacksonville though. But anyway, um, you know, I really I'm really, I'm really excited for Roger McCreary, mostly just because of the fact that he played the most. I believe, if I'm thinking correctly, he played the most defensive snaps out of any defensive rookie in the NFL last year, which is going to be really helpful for us because he's got that experience under his belt. He knows the defense well. So, and he showed flashes last year. I'm not saying that he was an insane defensive back. He wasn't Sauce Gardner, let's be real. But, he definitely has the potential to be a very solid defensive back, and he's also got, as long as Christian Fulton stays healthy, he's also got two very good defensive backs right in front of him that are going to be taking on the tougher matchups, like Christian Fulton again if he stays healthy, and Sean Murphy Bunting, who I think is a sleeping giant this next year. I think he's going to be very good in a Mike Vrabel defense. That's just my opinion, though. But anyway, so Roger McCreary is has played, I believe, if I remember correctly, I'm not too sure about pro style defenses, but it wouldn't surprise me if that's what he played at Auburn for most of his years. So, like, I think that he has the experience to go out there and not look completely shaky. And I think that he is a very, and I think that he has some solid tools. There's a reason that he was projected to go in the first round, but he did fall to the second round. But, like, I still think that he's going to be very good, and he may end up being, and who knows, he may end up being the cornerback too by the end of the year. I don't think that's going to happen, just for the record, but it could happen. And I don't know, that defensive back room is very weird and interesting, at least for the cornerbacks. The safeties are obvious, and they've already had their good years, so I can't include either of them on the list. Because Kevin Byard's a dog, and Amani Hooker had that one healthy season where he did really well. But anyway, going on to the last player. Now, this one, I couldn't really find someone else to put on for the defense except maybe Amani Hooker, but I believe that he has had one healthy season where he's been really good. So, like, this last one is going to be more of like, oh yeah, I think he's going to. It's not a breakout, but it's more of a bounce back. Harold Landry was tore his ACL, and everyone's expecting him to take a massive decline from what he was in 2021 because he was because he tore his ACL. That's the worst type of injury that any player could get. But I feel like he's gonna come back this next year. He's gonna be stronger than ever, and he's gonna have a very spookily similar season to what he had in 2021 because I feel like that he's worked really hard at rehab. I know he's questionable to come back at the beginning of this year, and that's understandable. If he needs to rest, he needs to rest. But I think that I think that he's got what it takes to even be a comeback player of the year candidate. Even though with the NFL that if DeMar Hamlin comes back and gets like an interception or two, he's probably going to win comeback player of the year. I wouldn't be too upset about it because let's be real, the dude died on the field and is still playing football. Like, that's just a miracle. And to me, I would feel like that award would be more for the medical staff. But I'm getting way off point, and I just mentioned something that's not the Titans, which makes me upset. But anyway, Harold Landry is going to bounce back. He's going to be a comeback player of the year candidate. I'm calling it right now, and I am really excited to watch him. And that defense is going to tear up some teams. Okay, if there's anything that's going to win us the 9 games that I have us predicted winning, it's going to be the defense, no doubt. And I still feel like that is because of Mike Vrabel. Like, I think that his defensive mind is so great that he's able to make some of these guys that are like above average starters in most places, except for Big Jeff, obviously. That would be like average to above average starters in any other place into very good defensive menaces in Tennessee. And he's able to drag our team into more wins than they really should ever get. He knows how to hype up the guys. But anyway, off topic. Harold Landry, uh, he's got comeback player of the year to me written all over him because even if he's not 100% what he was, he's got the Nico Autry, Jeffrey Simmons, and heck, if you even want to consider Arden Key now, he's got all those guys to distract defenses so he can get in and get those sacks. But anyway, that's all 5 players. Honestly, I really think that I think that 2 of these guys are obvious, and 3 of them could definitely not break out. I think that the three that I mentioned, Aziz Al Shair, Monty Rice, and David, no, not David Long Jr., Roger McCreary, I think that all three of those guys definitely could be really bad this year. I'm just saying that right now. But Arden Key and Harold Landry, I'm completely confident in those guys doing really well. Anyway, that's all that I have in this episode. Thank you for watching. If you wanna subscribe on YouTube, or you know, or is it follow or subscribe on podcasting? I'm not too sure, but if you want to do whatever it is on podcasting, then I'm completely fine with that too. But anyway, that's been all for me. Peace out and tighten up.